Hi, this is video number 3 of Strunk and White in preparation for the midterm, Thursday, October 21st. Okay, I'm in the introduction on Roman numeral page 15. I'm going towards the bottom of the page and I'm going to pretend that this sentence is a thesis statement. Now, it's not the thesis statement for the essay. I'm not sure that there is exactly one that White did, but we're going to pretend. So here's the sentence. He was a memorable, if I can't pronounce it, we're in bad shape, aren't we? He was a memorable man, friendly and funny. So if that's White's thesis statement, he has to prove it. And you have to remember, when you have a plan, you have to prove it. So we have to prove memorable, friendly, and funny. So here we go. Memorable. What made Strunk memorable? What made Strunk memorable? What made Strunk memorable? Can you remember anything from what you read that made Strunk memorable? Can you remember anything from what you read that makes Strunk memorable? Can you remember anything from what you read that made Strunk memorable? I hope I've made you uncomfortable. I hope I've made you uncomfortable. I hope I've made you uncomfortable because it says here, omit needless words, cries the author, and into that imperative Will Strunk put his heart and soul. In the days when I was sitting in his class, he omitted so many needless words and omitted them so forcibly and with such eagerness and obvious relish that he also seemed in the position of having changed himself. Will Strunk got out of this predicament by a simple trick. He uttered every sentence 3 times. Now, does that make a professional memorable, saying everything 3 times? Do you think Strunk actually did that? You'll have to think about that, but yes, Strunk was memorable because he said everything 3 times according to White. Okay, another thing that makes Strunk memorable. It says the reader will soon discover these rules and principles are in the form of sharp commands, Sergeant Strunk snapping orders to his platoon. And later, White says under his kindly lash. So Strunk ordered people, do not break sentences in 2, use the active voice, and we're going to do an exercise on active voice later on when we study Orwell. So that's a second thing that made Strunk memorable. Can you find other things that made Strunk memorable? Sorry. Yes, you can. On Roman numeral 17, page 17, Strunk went and visited the alumni news office. That's like the Corsair newspaper article office for Santa Monica College. He went to the office to complain about the word student body. He thought they were gruesome. He wanted everybody to use the term studentry. The word studentry seems kind of gruesome to me, but that made him memorable. I am told that the alumni news editor was so charmed by the visit, if not by the word, that he ordered the student body buried, never to rise again. So that made Strunk memorable. Okay. On Roman numeral 18, we have here Strunk saying, if you don't know how to pronounce a word, say it loud. If you don't know how to pronounce a word, say it loud. So that made him memorable. I bet you never heard that before, unless you read this book. Now, I also have a question why they didn't repeat that 3 times, since Strunk said everything 3 times. But anyway, that's the way it is. So those are 4 examples of how Strunk was memorable. I suppose you could find other examples about how he was memorable. Now, let's talk about how he's friendly. How would you define a friendly professor? Does he meet you after class to help you with your work? Does he meet you for coffee? Does he help you in class when you have a question? Does he say hi to you on campus? How would you define a friendly professor? Can you find examples in the introduction of Strunk being a friendly professor? Can you find examples in the introduction of Strunk being an unfriendly professor? What's the problem here? The problem is there's no evidence that Strunk was either friendly or unfriendly. The only quote I can find, and I'm sure you'll find others and contradict me because you're students, it says his kindly lash. But is a lash friendly? Kindly is friendly. So problem here is that White did not give any evidence that Strunk was friendly. So let's look at the next one, funny. Now look up in your dictionaries, now that you all have chosen a good dictionary, and find definitions for funny. Are there any definitions there when you look it up that would fit Strunk? Now every dictionary has different definitions, but I don't think Strunk would fit in a definition of something making you laugh. Have you found the word eccentric under the definition of friendly? Excuse me, funny, sorry. Have you found the word odd, unusual? If you take that definition of funny, you can find evidence of Strunk being funny, of him being odd, unusual, different. But those are the same definitions that we have for memorable. Because almost everything he did, like saying everything 3 times, like saying everything 3 times, like saying everything 3 times, are funny. So here's a problem. If we pretend that the sentence, "He's a memorable man, friendly and funny," is a thesis statement, White goofed. He didn't give us any proof for friendly or funny. Or he didn't give any proof for memorable and friendly, whichever way you want to go. So when you write a thesis statement, you must prove it. That's what I say. Any questions? Please email me.